Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Lodgify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.
Welcome to Good Morning Hospitality, your one-stop shop for the latest news, noteworthy trends, and thought-provoking discussions across the industry. From hotels and short-term rentals to all things travel and hospitality, you'll find each episode equips you with the information that you need to start your week. Join us on Good Morning Hospitality every Monday, wherever you get your podcasts.
What's up, you guys? Just got back from Vegas. How we doing?
I still see the cake right here in your beard.
Oh, yeah.
Was that from Thanksgiving or
cake.
from Aoki?
Yeah, it was from Aoki. I haven't left the nightclub since I got there. So, you know.
Actually,
yeah,
Will's coming to us from the bathroom of a nightclub. He pulled himself aside to do the show.
Quick.
You're
quick,
not the only
like,
one that had an all-nighter, Will.
Oh, but we had different reasons, my friend. Just kidding.
Very different.
Yeah.
Very different.
Let's say last week or the week before, weren't you talking like Elliot started taking his first steps, and now I'm sure he's just running all over the place, keeping you guys up until the break of dawn?
Yeah, well, he walked, I think, 2 weeks ago, and then now we've had back-to-back nights from basically 1 a.m. onward. So if I don't sound fully coherent, I'm not. But it is a lack of sleep due to child, not Aoki.
I'm sure all the parents listening can relate to that.
And then for our main demographic, who's 24 to 40 something, welcome to the club. I'm just kidding. I forget what our range.
40. Still under 40.
Mike.
Me and Brandy just trying to exclude Michael out. It's like, yeah, old man.
Well, did you have good Thanksgivings anyways? Easy travel if you had to travel?
To be honest, I totally forgot that Thanksgiving was last week. So, yes, it was great Thanksgiving. Very chill. Very, yeah, I was going to say, very chill. I did a Thanksgiving in Denver, so I didn't go home. So just kind of hung out by myself, went to a friend's house a little bit later in the afternoon, and yeah, watched movies and chilled. It's nothing crazy. Very low key.
Wow.
What about you guys?
Well, I guess I'm the only one that traveled, and that actually went pretty well. I was, waiting for something.
No chaos
to happen.
at the airlines?
No, I mean, they did literally have to change a tire on the plane when we were about to board on the way up, and we're like, okay, but
That's
that
fun.
only delayed us like 15 minutes. And then there was so much snow. I was in upstate New York in the Adirondacks, and we had like a lot of snow. So we had like lots of winter activities, and then came back, and it's Art Basel this week in Miami, which is always a bit chaotic. So like there's a lot of people around, but everything like went smoothly. So that's
how many influencer stays do you have going on this week at Art Basel?
None for free, that's for sure.
Nice.
I'd love to come do a collaboration for free in exchange for posts this first weekend in December. Yeah, not a chance.
Nice try. Nice. Yeah, we just had some friends over to watch rivalry week with football, but nothing wild over here. That was the extent. There were 7 kids under the age of 5 running around. So that was
oh my God.
I was expecting the same old.
Well,
they actually let you watch the game?
No, there was not a whole lot of watching the game. The kids were everywhere. From one activity to the next. So herding cats over here.
Someday you'll get to watch football again.
Well, yeah, that was one of the highlights of the weekend. Oliver sat down and said, I want to watch football. And different day, but big day for dad. Proud dad.
Yes, one step closer.
One big giant leap for dads around the world.
Well, I live in a college town, and in college, almost everybody, I think everybody, has to take Econ 101. And today's 2 articles are about stories of economics, one in New York and one in Dubai. Brandy, you were most recently in Dubai. You want to kick off with that one?
Sure. So, and by recent, 2 years ago, but in my, my experience in 4 days there, this article makes a lot of sense. So basically there's an article in Skift that says that there is there's been a big push in short-term rentals and in Dubai, and it's just kind of created this race to the bottom. And in our first lesson of economics, there's far too much supply. And so the different people in the article reference, there's the government in Dubai has really made a push to have more, like, just no restrictions on short-term rentals, trying to boost that sector of hospitality. And with that, you just have obviously so many people that come into the picture. You have some players that are very established. Sonder, Blue Ground have big presences there, but then you have all the little mom and pops popping up with a lot of people coming over from real estate and no hospitality background. And a lot of people are charging like no management fees for X amount of months. And you're just making it very difficult for everybody to make a living. And then there also isn't the demand from consumers to rent out all these units. And so, I mean, I was in Dubai 2 years ago and we stayed at a Sonder building, which was beautiful. They had, I think, an entire tower, and that was one of their properties. And there's just so many short-term rentals. And that was 2 years ago. So I'm sure the problem has just continued to grow since then.
Yeah, it's perception is that wealthy people just buy apartments and don't really often use it. Similar to Miami, really, where internationals want to own real estate in this jurisdiction. And instead of letting it be totally dormant, why not just throw it on short-term rental platforms, hand it over to a local property management company? I think a lot of, again, perception-based, a lot of Brits move over there and start management companies because it's warm weather and it's outside of England, diversified. But whenever you have too much supply and the demand doesn't keep up, then it's not great for the professionals in the industry. And we've seen the data from Jamie over the past year or two with Airbnb pushing supply, and largely writ large, the industry is not doing as well as it was doing when there was less supply, because demand consequences, lower occupancy, lower ADR, and less money flowing around. Unless you're a platform and you have 8 million homes instead of 6 or 7 million.
Well, I was going to say, one of the things that's really interesting, Michael, you made a comment before we got on the live, was that there's no outside threat currently with this. It's except for the industry, right? Like except for the operators themselves that are racing to the bottom, as the article stated at Skift. And one of the things that kind of struck kind of a thought and idea, or even just a conversation point in my head, was when I last week or the week before, it was right before Thanksgiving, recorded an episode with Lee Curtis with Reside. And you guys know they did a big partnership with Wyndham, developing this kind of residential type stay. And one of the comments he kind of made throughout that episode was, talking to these landlords, was it was finally the number one thing they were saying to him and his team and all this other stuff after, companies like Say Alfred, Front Desk, you name it, all kind of went out, is that a lot of these landlords say it's finally nice to have some adults in the room, that these operators are professional. They actually know what they're doing. It's not a tech-focused / whatever type of company. And my, I guess, question or thought is, with reading this article about, Dubai kind of race to the bottom, is the threat's not regulation. The threat's not the government. The threat's not this. The threat is the operator. And my question is going to be, are we going to see another round of urban operators go out of business and people, start these companies, raise a ton of cash and go into this market, get super excited and bullish, and then all of a sudden crash and burn because they were their worst enemies? And quote unquote, from kind of what Lee said, there weren't any adults in the room. There was just a bunch of people trying to run a company from a remote base or whatever, right? Like, I'm not saying that that's the case for everybody, I know there's probably definitely some professionals there, but when a gold rush hits, usually you see a lot of the amateurs come in too.
Well, I think that the other side of this is that a lot of these operators are partnering with developers, and there's been a huge construction boom in Dubai as well. So while I do think that at some point, like, the house of cards will fall a little bit and the dust will settle and some people will exit, I think it will take a while because there is so much money propping all of this up. Because one other component of this, and there aren't details about this in the article, but there is this enormous construction boom that also might have a reckoning in there, like in the future, but they're probably kind of closely linked. And it will take, if just a couple of management companies start saying, no, we're not going to do your no fees, that's not going to have a ripple effect. It'll have to be much larger than that, So I do think so, but not for probably some time.
Yeah, and especially if they're new companies, they've probably built in a ramp up period, and there's good potential that this is the ramp up period they've already budgeted for. Additionally, I mean, there will probably be some sort of supply constriction, maybe more globally than specifically in Miami or specifically in Dubai, but if you're not making any money at all doing short-term rentals, you're going to flip it back over to long-term. And so, these short-term rental operators, we saw this a lot during COVID. The ones that survived and got through were the ones that were successful in moving to longer-term rentals and getting, away from the nightly stays.
Yeah. But I also say, like, yes, it may not be the fastest ripple, but in my personal experience, waiving fees and discounting stuff just to get started has never been a good business decision.
Yep.
Even with the built-in ramp-up period. And that's where I'm kind of less bullish on this, like, not gonna be a repeat, basically, of what we've seen in the States. I truly, it's the operator will probably cut costs because they're not making money for 3 months or however long they're waiving their fees, which is going to impact guest satisfaction, which is going to impact owner earnings or landlord earnings. And then the whole cycle is just going to be very vicious and repetitive. And so I don't know. I think if you're going to go into a business or a business venture, which again, I had to learn this the hard way, even with not just our management company, but Hospitality FM and discounting sponsorships or editorial services or whatever, it just ends up being really shitty. And as much as
we all have those stories,
yeah. So it's like, I don't know. I just have a really, that's kind of my thoughts on it. I just don't think it's going to be overall successful for the long term of the market, and I can't put a time period on it. But it all gives me red flags, just screaming red flags.
Yeah, I think the other, component of this that the article mentions is that a lot of these new companies are people that are coming over from real estate and not hospitality. 100%. And that hospitality, as everyone that listens to the show knows, is a different beast. And if you hear a lot of noise in the background, my cat has decided to play with something right behind me.
We can hear it. It's okay.
So that's just like another part of this that, like, this is not real estate and there are a lot more components. I think you'll start to see a bad guest experience, like you mentioned, kind of like creep in, and then maybe those people, it'll like self-select because there'll be so many options. But it'll be interesting if we could get some information maybe from Jamie later on and kind of track this, maybe a prediction for next year.
For sure. And for the listeners, this is a live show, so we don't edit any cat noises. And also,
I thought it was jingle bells.
She literally never comes out, and now she's like, time to play.
Yeah, Brandy's over there playing Christmas music, or her cat is at least. But then also a comment for listeners. What were we just talking about? Oh, predictions episode. So next week we're gonna have a guest on the show, but after that we will do our predictions of the year. So if you heard us in the beginning of this year, talk about our predictions, the three of us, and even Jamie, I think we'll get on board, and we're going to cover how right were we, and then we're going to prep for a month until sometime mid-January to come up with our next predictions for 2025. So just FYI, we like to do our predictions every year.
We love those shows.
We
Yeah,
love
I largely forgot what my predictions were, so I'm excited to go back and recap and see how right or wrong I was.
Well, thanks for Kelsey for getting our clips and everything organized for us, because there's no way in hell I was going to be able to do it. So thank you for our amazing producer. Shall we move on to New York, or do we still have any thoughts on Dubai?
No, I think we switched to the other side of economics.
The other side.
When you restrict supply, what happens?
Prices go up, people get priced out, and people are not coming. Well, people are not coming to New York, but it is having an impact on, obviously, the tourism volume.
Yep,
for sure.
The New York Times reported on Sunday that hotel rates were the highest they had ever been on a monthly basis, at the
In September,
average
right?
price $417 per night. So that is going to price out a lot of people. Not to mention, I'm sure Christmas time is a very popular time for New York. Prices are only going to be higher. So that leaves a lot of people that were left high and dry when New York banned short-term rentals. And there is a bill that's been introduced locally to reinstate a variety of properties, particularly single family and duplex style accommodations in New York. And to some extent that makes sense. I would venture to guess the vast majority of inventory in New York is not single family or duplex, but more multifamily or high rise. But still, something is better than nothing. And my guess is, just by introducing that, hotel prices will have to constrict a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's the, part of the thing we touched on when we first brought up the ban is that this really affects a lot of the outer boroughs outside of Manhattan, where there aren't a lot of hotels. And this new amendment is really, this new bill is really supported by all those chambers of commerce who were like, we really actually do depend on having these visitors come. And I would imagine that as you kind of get further from Manhattan, you would have more duplexes and things like that. I mean, if you go, deep Queens, you might have those single family homes. But that's great that now, people that were really relying on this genuinely, I think still, if you're a larger operator and you're not using hotel permits, you're probably not going to have a lot of success. But it's good to at least give some, both travelers and homeowners, people who are surviving on this, a little bit of reprieve.
Yeah. And I think this is definitely, from a regulation standpoint, kind of a win. At least if I was Airbnb or Vrbo, I would see it as a win, right? Because these 1 to 2 1 to 2 bedroom homes, that's great. That's probably a ton of inventory in a market like New York that is 1 to 2 bedrooms. I'm doubtful, like Brandy said, like there's actually bigger homes, middle of New York, taking up all that square footage. But I am curious, because I know obviously the hotel lobbies are going to push back, as you stated, Michael, in September, $417 a night. Average nightly rate for all hotels in New York. Not a bad way to end that month, right? Like that's a pretty significant amount of revenue. So I'm sure these hotel lobbies are going to push back and there's going to be changes. My question is, are we going to see changes swing back more towards local law 18 regulations, where it's more restrictive, no one-nighters, owner has to be present, blah, 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 all the stuff that was really unattractive for local law 18, versus this bill, which is number 1107. I think we're going to see a lot of changes and amendments. So what do you guys think it's going to swing, like more favorable or less after this?
I think with the constriction comes loosening. So I think this is a very reasonable one. 1 and 2 family homes becoming rentable. Those, my guess, would not be mostly 1 bedrooms. They'd be mostly 2, 3, 4 bedroom properties. Yeah. And that's not competitive with hotel lobby. So the hotel lobby would say, okay, fine. And that said, the lobbies only have so much power. If the people want to reinstate it, then they will, or even if the local tourism board wants to reinstate it, then there's a lot of power that can come through and push it. So I do think we'll see a loosening of draconian, all out shutdown bans. But I don't think New York's going to get to the point where it'll be in
Friendly.
the Dubai/Miami realm.
Yeah, I also think you have, this is a big economic, there's a lot of economic pressure here. So if you are the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce and, you have also sway, the hotel lobby, like there aren't a lot of hotels there. So you can use your weight there. So it'll be interesting to see, again, we kind of look every like couple months how these local laws. I'm actually, this is incredible. Like with a span of a couple months, we kind of saw this reversal.
100%. And we got Justin Knapp tuning in or commenting in on LinkedIn, who is asking, are there any markets that you think will follow the New York lead? Love to know from your guys' perspective before I give my opinion.
Sure. So I think the big ones that have been in the news this year are European cities that have had these kind of shutdown or, laws. And I don't really see those passing first because some of them, like the one in Barcelona, wasn't set to take into effect for many years. So we haven't seen, like the backlash of that. And there are other like cultural and social like reasonings behind all of that. Like in the country, like in some of those countries as a whole, there is a real like sentiment of anger towards over tourism. And so I don't think you'll have this quick like back and forth. It'll take some time.
Yeah. Whenever we've seen an all-out ban, San Diego, for example, that took 90 days to revamp. So New York, I believe, took about a year. There's other markets that it's been banned for a long time, including the home location of Airbnb in San Francisco. So, are they ever going to change their laws in San Francisco? Maybe, probably not. They typically ride pretty consistent on their laws. Chicago has had tight but not all out bans for a long time. DC, same. So I don't think there's going to be a massive loosening, but I do think, and to a large extent, some regulation is good. And honestly, Dubai might benefit from some regulation. If you can limit some supply, then overall everyone's better off. Investors aren't going to buy because they're promised from their real estate agent that they can make X amount. And in reality, they didn't do their research, and surprise, there's 20,000 properties just like yours in Dubai. So some regulation is good, but all out bans, not good.
For sure. My comment was just going to be, I don't know. I can't like give you, Justin, a specific city that I'm thinking of, but my thinking and prediction will be some other really dense, again, not going to give a list, but really dense urban populated cities are going to go do the same swing shift that, like Michael, you just stated with California, we see with New York. It's going to be really restrictive, and then they're going to loosen up a little bit. It's not going to last forever. So I just think any urban city, except for Miami, obviously, as you guys are building 8,500 new units. But it's just like, okay. So I think sorry, just to finish my thought, it's just that it's just going to go, they're going to go extreme one way. They're going to try to loosen up, and it's eventually, hopefully, like Michael said, meet right in the middle where it's just right, where it's fair regulation. It's good for one side. It's also good for the other, and everyone can kind of cohesively live, hopefully.
Yeah. And in the Coachella Valley, things have swung back and forth for quite a while. And it really just depends on who's in office as to how regulations play out. So we just finished a political cycle. Expect some things to change over the next 12 months, and then it'll probably die down for a little bit of time until it's election season again.
Yeah, about 18 months, give or take. Quote from Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy for Doge. So just 18 months apparently. So we'll see.
The one place that actually came to mind was Colorado, and it's not a densely populated urban area, but you have like these bills that either, and communities talking about like really restricting. And I feel like this is another example of that. Like if those things actually pass and then they go through one ski season, like, and then maybe reverse something. So I think it can also impact smaller towns where you are heavily dependent on short-term rentals for tourism.
Yeah, that's a great point. Didn't think about Colorado as I live here. I was more of like, yeah, I guess like, I don't know. Part of me, I very much agree with the ski season part, right? Like we are mostly vacation rentals more than resorts and hotels throughout the mountain towns. I think the city of Denver needs to loosen up and not make it just primary residence on the short-term rental like permit and licensing, because there's so much room for us to build in Denver. I think not only just the city, but out on the outskirts. And, you know, as they try to develop Aurora, which I think is very much needed because it is kind of the redheaded stepchild of the the state, in my opinion. The airport is way too far away. It's underdeveloped. There's tons of land. It's a lower income type situation. So obviously open up some more housing there. I think there's a lot of things that can happen, but that's the reason why we see these housing crisis issues pop up, is because cities aren't developing. They're refusing over 60 years to really expand their footprint or to use it for other things like housing. So anyways, that's just kind of my thoughts, but you were very correct, Brandy, on the rest of the ski and vacation rental market.
I just have ski season on my mind. I'm trying to plan where I'm going in March.
I can tell. When you're in town, let me know. I'll be your guys' chauffeur. I'll pick you and Max up. We'll go for a nice little cruise.
Can I get you on the mountain is the question.
Negative. Ski après, my friend. Ski après. But that's about it.
Oh man, skiing's fun, Will. You should try it.
No.
Yeah, so today's lesson in economics: too much supply with not enough demand is an imbalance, and too little supply and too much demand is also imbalanced. So, it is, those two things are on the industry to solve as much as it is on the regulators to solve. If it gets to the point that regulators have to step in, it's probably too late. So shout out rent responsibly, get involved with local politics before it becomes an issue. While I'm doing shout outs, I'm on my 4th cup of Well and Good Morning coffee this morning.
Amen,
it has been a lifesaver for me. So Cyber Monday special, there isn't one. The coffee is special. So go and enjoy.
The coffee is special. You're special. We love it. This has been a really good episode, and I know we're going to wrap up a couple minutes early, but any closing thoughts that you guys have outside of the economics piece? Anything on your guys' minds as we're looking forward to 2025, new year?
Hope everyone has fun at the last event of the year down in Florida at DARM. So I know the last hoorah, a lot of folks getting down there, all the data nerds. Jamie's going to be
a bunch of texts this weekend. You going to be at DARM? No, I'm done with conferences. I hope you have fun. Just have a great time.
The smartest minds are going down there. So I think the 3 of us are staying put. Shot fired at myself as well as but yeah, enjoy. It's really chilly here, so I'd imagine it's pretty chilly down there too. So
honestly, it is like 60 degrees in Miami right now. I know it's everybody's gonna have their like UGG boots and parkas on. Coming from like 20 degrees in upstate New York and then landing here, I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah. Super good. It's like 30, 40 degrees here, but I'm warm. Like I was sweating yesterday on my walk. So I don't know. The sun does wonders. Does wonders. All right. Well, you guys know what to do. Great episode. Missed you guys last week. The 3 of you crushed it. Thanks for letting me, sleep in and recover last Monday. It was a struggle, but super excited for any more discussions around Dubai. I'm pretty sure our GMH EU crew is going to cover some more information around this. Plus, they've covered a lot of information around Barcelona and all the other kind of regulatory stuff happening over there. So make sure to check out those episodes for the listeners that may have not listened. If you are a United States listener, you're more than welcome to listen to our European show. It's always good to learn on both sides of the pond. But then, shout out to everybody who's at DARM and Michael, Brandy, as always. I can't wait to see you guys next week.
Want to stop juggling spreadsheets, calendars, and a dozen apps just to run your rentals? Logify makes it easy. It's an all-in-one toolkit for hosts. Build a direct booking website, automate guest messaging, and keep all your channels in sync. Running your rental business your way has never been simpler. And for Good Morning Hospitality listeners, you can get 20% off any yearly plan with code GMH20. Just check the link in the show notes to get started today.